This little fairy always brings trouble to her kingdom, but one day she makes the biggest mistake and befriends a monster that can cause deadly thunderstorms. This is Pixie Hollow, a kingdom where thousands of pixie fairies live under the rule of a humble queen. One night, a glowing star passed over the kingdom. It seems to be falling from heaven and streaking through the sky. The fairies get scared after seeing the comet, because their ancient legends warn them of a green-tail star. They all take shelter, but there's someone who was waiting for this event for a really long time. The next morning, all the fairies get back to their normal life. Each one of them has special skills and gets assigned with relevant jobs. Together they maintain the peace in the kingdom, but one of them often brings trouble. This is Fawn, the animal fairy. Her special power is to communicate with animals, and she loves helping them. But sometimes her love gets out of hand, and she puts the whole kingdom at risk. She has been acting suspicious for the past few days, so it's sure that she has done something wrong again. Fawn's closest friend is a fairy named Tinkerbell. She visits her to deliver the extra-large wagon Fawn asked for. Tinkerbell wonders where it will be used, so Fawn agrees to tell her the secret. She is keeping a hawk in her house. Tinkerbell's jaw drops on seeing it. Hawks are the sworn enemy of fairies and love eating them. Fawn tells Tinkerbell to calm down and understand the situation. This is just a baby hawk whose wing was injured, so Fawn brought it to help it recover. Now it is all good, so Fawn has decided to take it to the forest. Tinkerbell reminds her of the fairy scouts that are guarding the kingdom all the time, but Fawn has planned everything. She asked for the wagon so the hawk can be hidden inside it under the berries. Both fairies carry the heavy wagon out of the house, but get stopped by their friends. They start questioning about the berries, but Fawn lies confidently. The fairies believe her, but they offer to help by lifting the berries with pixie dust. As they do that, the hawk gets uncovered and starts making weird noises. The other hawks in the forest hear the noises and rush towards the kingdom. Everyone starts running away to hide while the Scout Fairies take their positions to fight the hawks. They are guided by their leader Nyx, who is a passionate fighter. She lays down several traps to catch the hawks and sends them away from the fairies. Meanwhile, Fawn is looking for the baby hawk who suddenly disappeared. Nyx catches the baby hawk and asks Fawn to stay away from it. The queen arrives at the scene too and asks what happened. Nyx informs her about the safety of all the fairies, but she is worried for the future if Fawn keeps making the same mistake. Once she brought snakes, then rats, and even deadly blood-sucking bats. Fawn accepts her mistake and apologizes for crossing her limits. The queen politely advises Fawn to use her head as well. Listening to your heart is admirable, but it's not always the best thing to do. Sometimes you have to think carefully before taking a step. Fawn agrees and promises to be more careful in the future. The next morning, she gets busy with her job of teaching animals basic tasks. Suddenly, she hears a weird growling sound coming out of a cave. Fawn tries to convince herself to use her head and stay away from trouble, but she can't control herself. She promises to be more responsible from tomorrow, but right now she must know what's inside the cave. Fawn gradually steps in the cave and gets shocked to see a giant unknown beast in front of her eyes. She starts recalling all the books she read about the animals, but none of the descriptions match the beast she just found. Fawn suddenly notices that the poor beast is crying in pain because of a thorn stuck in his foot. Fawn tries to pull it out, but the beast catches her. She tries to play dead, but the beast howls so loudly that Fawn gets flown out of the cave. The roars were so loud that the scouts in the kingdom heard them too. Nyx immediately starts investigating them, but doesn't get any other witnesses as everyone was busy working. Fawn gets a chance to run away, but she can't leave the beast in pain. She hides away and waits for the beast to step out of the cave. She observes him from afar and gets amazed by his size and skills. His thick forelimbs are ideal for digging, and massive jaws help in lifting giant stones. The beast ignores her and starts joining the stones to build something. Fawn notices that he needs stones, so she ties up one and hangs it down the tree. When the beast raises her feet to get the stone, Fawn takes this chance to pull out the thorn. The beast screams and gets angry. Fawn tries to run away, but her leg is stuck under a stone. The beast proceeds towards her, but instead of harming her, he kicks away the stone. Fawn realizes that the beast is not as dangerous as he seems. He is just out there to fulfill a task. He keeps collecting stones and uses his saliva to join them and form a tower. As an animal fairy, Fawn considers it her responsibility to study every new animal in the forest. Therefore, she rushes back home to bring some necessary stuff. She collects studying material like her notebooks and some research tools. Suddenly, Nyx visits her and asks where she has been all day. Fawn starts making excuses, but Nyx directly asks about the roaring sound. Fawn acts innocent and asks more details of the roar and how it sounded. She even starts copying the sounds of different animals and asks Nyx which one is familiar. Nyx gets frustrated and asks Fawn to stop the nonsense. However, if Fawn ever gets any details about the roars, she must inform the scouts because it can be an upcoming danger for the Pixie Hollow. Fawn agrees to help, but as soon as Nyx leaves, the naughty animal fairy goes back to the forest. She observes every detail of the beast, his footsteps, his fur, and even his style of walking. But the most difficult thing is getting his affection. Fawn even dresses up like him, but the beast keeps ignoring her. She builds her tiny bed multiple times to stay near the beast, but he steps on it mercilessly. As the evening sets in, Fawn's wings start glowing in the dark because of the pixie dust. The beast is mesmerized by it, and gets closer to the fairy to observe the twinkling pixie dust. Fawn gets really happy to finally interact with the beast. She even starts helping the beast in moving the stones, and he doesn't seem to mind. He also stops destroying her bed, and she spends the night in the forest. The next morning, the beast wakes up Fawn and shows her the tower he has finally completed. He asks her to ride him so they can move to the next location. On the way, Fawn asks the beast about the purpose of the towers. All animals build something, but their structures are used for living, hibernation, or for storing food. But none of that can be done in the towers the beast is building. The beast doesn't reply, but Fawn is willing to stand beside him. She even gives him a name. Now he will be called Gruff. Fawn decides to make his work more interesting and lifts the stones with pixie dust. Gruff kicks the stones in place and seems to enjoy this new method of building towers. They keep playing for hours, but Gruff gets overexcited and accidentally throws a few stones far away. They fall in the sunflower meadow and destroy it. The fairies working in the meadow call the scouts for investigation. Nyx predicts the projection of the stones and reaches the Gruff's half-built tower. Fawn notices the scouts and asks Gruff to run, but he doesn't seem to understand. Fawn gets an idea and asks the beast to follow her trail of pixie dust. In this way, Fawn takes Gruff away from the scouts. They shoot smoke bombs of nightshade powder to make the beast unconscious, but Fawn takes away Gruff to a different path. Nyx doesn't give up as she has already seen the beast from afar. She keeps following him to the cliff, but eventually loses track while Fawn hides away with the beast. Nyx wants to get to the bottom of this matter and visits the library to study more about the beast. She asks the librarian for all the animal books he has, but the librarian wants to focus on his latest research, the Green Comet. He has found a relationship between the Green Comet and an ancient prediction of a mysterious beast. This immediately catches Nyx's attention, and she asks for all the details of this Green Comet. Later that night, Fawn decides to introduce the beast to Pixie Hollow before the scouts declare him a danger. She starts by gathering Tinkerbell and her other friends and introduces them to Gruff. She explains that he is harmless and loves the pixie dust. Fawn wants to show him to the Queen and apologize for accidentally destroying the sunflower meadow. The fairies are not sure of Fawn's decision because her story is full of uncertainties. She herself doesn't know enough about the beast, but she wants to bring it to Pixie Meadow. After all the trouble Fawn has caused so far, it's not easy to trust her, but she still asks her friends for support. Fawn goes to talk to the Queen and bring her out. Meanwhile, her friends have to keep an eye on Gruff. Fawn finds the Queen, but Nyx is there too. They invite her to join the conversation as Fawn may be able to help them in the current matter. The Queen explains that Nyx has found a new animal which seems to be a dangerous predator. Hearing this, Fawn gets worried and signals her friends to take away Gruff. Nyx continues with her explanation and says that the comet they witnessed a few days ago was seen after 1,000 years. Each time it passes over the Earth, it wakes up a creature called the NeverBeast. Once the comet brings out this creature, he starts building 4 rock towers in each part of the Pixie Hollow. Once it's done, green clouds fill the sky, and the creature transforms into an even more deadly beast with horns and bat wings. And then, it brings a lightning storm so powerful that it consumes all of the Pixie Hollow. If the fairies don't act in time, the whole Pixie Hollow will be destroyed. Fawn tries to ignore the facts and says that it can be some misunderstanding or a self-made legend. Animals can't control the weather. But when Fawn looks out of the window, she realizes that Gruff indeed built the towers in the locations mentioned in the legend. She gets worried but stays quiet till her friends carry away Gruff. The Queen asks Fawn for help in catching the NeverBeast, as she believes that every fairy will only do what is right for the kingdom. Fawn agrees and rushes to her friends. They haven't taken the beast to the forest yet because Gruff refused to leave Fawn behind. Fawn gets really touched and hugs the beast. Afterward, she tells the whole legend to her friends. She believes that they will not declare Gruff a monster, but the fairies seem scared. They make random excuses and run away. Tinkerbell advises Fawn to be careful, and whether Gruff is a monster or not, he needs to find a new place to live. Fawn agrees and takes away Gruff. They spend the night together looking at the beautiful sky full of stars. Fawn also tells Gruff that she knows he is not a monster. Other fairies may call him that because they can't see what Fawn can see. Fawn doesn't realize when she falls asleep, but the next morning starts like a nightmare. Gruff is nowhere to be found, and green clouds are spreading over the sky. The fairy scouts prepare their weapons and grab a giant trap to catch the NeverBeast. Tinkerbell notices them and rushes to inform Fawn. She asks if Gruff is hidden in a safe place or not, but Fawn reveals that she lost him. According to the legend, he's going to build 2 more towers in 2 different locations. Fawn doesn't believe he's a monster, but he's definitely going to build the towers, so he must have started it. Fawn goes to one of the predicted locations while Tinkerbell goes to the other. Fawn reaches the 3rd tower, but it seems like Gruff had already completed it last night. He must be building the last one on the snowy mountains. Tinkerbell reaches him and asks him to run away. Gruff seems a little different and suddenly kicks Tinkerbell. Fawn reaches there too and finds Tinkerbell unconscious on the ground. She feels really disappointed in herself for trusting Gruff, but it's too late. Nyx spots Gruff, but she prefers helping Tinkerbell first. They take her back to the kingdom and call the doctor. Luckily, she is fine and just needs a little rest. Fawn feels really ashamed of putting her friend in danger, and now she's going to fix her mistake. She goes to find Gruff and asks him to come down to talk to her. Gruff does as said, but when he gets closer, the scouts throw the trap to capture him. Afterward, they spread nightshade powder to put the beast to sleep. It was all planned by Fawn to catch the NeverBeast, but she feels bad for Gruff. Though he was a monster, Fawn saw him as a friend. She sits down in a corner to cry while the scouts actively help all the fairies to move to the shelter. The green clouds are getting thicker and thicker and the lightning has started to fall. The NeverBeast is captured, but the storm doesn't seem to be ending any soon. Nyx still believes it will work and asks the other scouts to keep fulfilling their duty. Suddenly, a treehouse gets hit by lightning, so Nyx rushes to help the fairies. She gets really frustrated and shouts at Gruff. She asks him to stop the storm, but Gruff is lying lifelessly on the ground. It doesn't seem like he is bringing the storm. Meanwhile, Tinkerbell has finally gained consciousness. She looks for Fawn and asks about Gruff. She gets really upset when Fawn tells her that the beast is captured by the scouts. He is not actually a monster. He never hurt Tinkerbell. In fact, Gruff was actually trying to protect Tinkerbell from the falling tree. He saved her life. Fawn gets really ashamed of judging the poor beast so quickly. She must fix her mistake before it's too late. The other fairies help her too and get Gruff out of the trap. They want to take him to the shelter, but Gruff seems to be transforming. He gets giant horns and wings and tries to tell something important to Fawn. He is not here to destroy Pixie Hollow. He is here to protect it. He built the towers to draw in the lightning so he can collect it and save Pixie Hollow. Gruff wants to get to the towers right now, but the nightshade powder has blurred his vision. Luckily, he can still see the glow of pixie dust. Fawn asks him to follow the glow and takes him to the towers. One by one, he collects the lightning from all the 3 towers, and now only one is left. Before he can reach it, someone knocks down the tower. It's Nyx. She thought that the towers were creating the storm. After a while, the storm gets back and wilder than before. Gruff tries to gather stones to build more towers, but they don't have that much time. Gruff looks at the sky and Fawn immediately understands what he means. Fawn guides her towards the sky and he starts collecting all the lightning directly from the storm. Finally, the disaster is over. Gruff and Fawn come back to the ground, but Fawn is not opening her eyes. The doctor checks her pulse and announces her death. The fairies start crying at the loss, but Gruff feels the most grief. He sits down near Fawn's body and moans in pain. The leftover charges in his fur reaches Fawn's body, and the little shock brings her back to life. From the next day, the fairies start rebuilding their homes, but now they have Gruff to help. Fawn is also really busy because she needs to write another legend about the NeverBeast, and must tell everyone that he isn't a monster but the hero of Pixie Hollow. The fairies have a lot of plans for playing with Gruff, but he seems tired and sleepy. Fawn feels his heartbeat slowing down and understands the situation. His mission is completed, and it's time for him to go to sleep for another 1,000 years so he can wake up again to stop another storm. The fairies will not be able to see him again. They want to give him a good farewell and light up his way to the cave. They even prepare a soft bed for him with a nightlight so Gruff can have a peaceful sleep. Fawn's eyes are filled with tears as she will not meet her dear friend again. But she knows that Gruff will come back when Pixie Hollow will need him again.